This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance, deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale, and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Welcome to NatureBacked podcast, where we speak with investors and entrepreneurs about the green future. My name is Tarmo Virki, and today my guest is Antti Vihavainen from Puro.Earth, old friend who I first time interviewed probably about 20 years ago when he was working at a security software company. Welcome, Antti.
Thank you, Tarmo. It's definitely a pleasure to be here.
Tell us in a few words, what is Puro.Earth doing?
We are a carbon removal standard. So you might think that similar companies or similar organizations in the similar position in the value chain are people like or companies like Verra and Gold Standard. However, we don't directly compete with them because of the very strict focus to engineered or durable carbon removal. Engineered may be a little bit distracting word, and basically, if you categorize different kinds of carbon removal processes to three rough categories, some of them being nature-based, and some of them being engineered. In the middle, there's the hybrid solutions, and we do anything that can guarantee at least 100 years of sequestration permanence.
It's a lot to do with the development of technology, right?
Indeed, we of course there's a lot of innovation taking place in this scene right now, and that makes it really, really interesting. Our approach has been to make so-called meta-level methodologies, which are rather broad but very strict. And that means that we are able to allow innovators to come with different kinds of approaches and basically make a claim that they would fit into some of our methodologies already. And surprisingly often that is indeed true.
Well, what's the kind of backstory of Puro.Earth? How was the company born? What was the mission you started up on?
Well, as you mentioned, my background is in security and telecommunications in particular, and there is a two distinct groups of companies. Ones that make the technology and others that run a service based on the technology. So the Ericssons and the Nokias of the world make the technology, and operators make it digestible for consumers. I thought that the carbon removal space would also need a commercialization layer. I didn't know what that might be, but I asked the question from the right people at the right time, and we started working on a concept that would end up becoming what we believe was the world's first carbon removal marketplace. However, in order to set up the marketplace, we had to create the full infrastructure to be able to run the standard, which meant that we had to have a registry to keep track of who owns what. We had to have an issuance body or issuing body with certain rules that govern its activities. We had to create the methodologies based on which the issuances can happen. We had to have the verification infrastructure, basically have a network of third-party auditors who would go out and do the verification. Of course, the methodologies don't emerge from nothing, so we had to create an advisory board with very distinguished people who help us curate and create these top-notch sort of innovative methodologies. And then, of course, below that, all the business operations. Now, however, once we had established that there is demand for credits that are called corks or CO2 removal certificates, we wanted to work with other marketplaces, and thus it was possible for us to step away from that position. So now we are just a standard, no longer a marketplace.
How much there is? I mean, you guys have been around for quite a while, and the carbon credit
half a decade.
Exactly. And carbon removal is not that old industry in a way. How does how have you seen the industry develop around you?
It's really, of course, fun to see that when we started, we had to always start from, what is carbon removal? Why is it necessary? And, the CO2 concentration is the thing that matters. And, we can't reduce the CO2 concentration unless we start, the drawdown. Then, a little bit later, we had to start, explain what is Puro and what is Puro's role in this. And then now we are in a situation that our frontline people, me included, don't really have to use slides to explain any of this because within our bubble we are fairly well known, and also people that we talk to already know about carbon removal and the value chain in general. So a lot of knowledge has been sort of an understanding of the necessary activities has increased in this space.
You mentioned the kind of maybe similar bodies like Verra and the Gold Standard, and how much these, I say probably over the last year, we've seen quite a lot of media reports and the scientist reports claiming that a lot of the carbon credit stuff is basically, how would I say politely, pardon my French, but bullshit. How much has this impacted this industry in general?
Well, it was the reason why we set up Puro in the first place back in 2018. We realized that some of the underlying principles and the logic with the existing standards are difficult to make sort of solid enough. The whole concept of counterfactual baseline is subject to, let's say, manipulation. And we wanted to create a system that would be based on actual, physical, quantifiable removal of CO2 from the atmosphere. Now, we've succeeded in that, one can claim, because the weighted average price of the corks has been between 50 and 100 times higher than an average carbon credit. So the actual price paid by the buyer. So clearly, there has been some sort of demand for credit like this. Now, the recent media publicity has indeed had a twofold effect. One, we've seen companies get scared and taken a few steps back and say, okay, I don't want to have anything to do with anything related to carbon credits. I'll wait before the dust settles. However, we've also seen companies that are sort of making a difference between different kinds of carbon credits, and of course we'd like to use the word carbon removal credit instead of just an offset. So we've seen sort of new interest flowing into this area because of this bad publicity. So some companies have reached out to us and say, okay, we need a safe haven. We need to figure out how to, support something that is important, remove our unavoidable emissions, and at the same time, shield ourselves from green shaming or whatever you want to call it.
Going back to the kind of beginning of the process, what's the typical project you guys are working with? What kind of, stuff, plantations or the technologies, or what's the typical Puro project?
Well, if we look at the statistics of the 600 projects that we have in the supplier funnel right now, quite a few of them are related to biochar. So I would say at the moment, approximately half of them are biochar producers. Biochar is basically a biomass-based substance that has gone through a process called pyrolysis, which is basically combustion without oxygen, which means that char occurs. And depending on multiple factors, this char can be very durable. It's a bit like diamond, which is also a stable form of carbon. If you put it to soil, it doesn't decompose. So it is an exothermic reaction, which means that you can take waste biomass, put it into pyrolysis process, get energy, and get also the biochar, and then you are able to produce negative emissions, which is that can be issued as corks. So that's definitely in terms of number of projects the biggest one. However, now we are seeing new types of projects. Of course, direct air capture is easiest to understand and describe, also very energy intensive and therefore quite expensive way of doing carbon removal. Bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, again, a process where the first part of the actual carbon capture happens when the plant is growing, be it a tree or sugarcane or something else. When that grows, it captures CO2, and when that is then burnt in a facility, and then that CO2 is captured and injected to a geological cavity, that counts as a negative emission. Then there's enhanced rock weathering, which is another great way of doing carbon removal. There's a bunch of those projects. Terrestrial storage of biomass, carbonated materials, all kinds of stuff floating around.
Quite a variety. I think probably planting a tree is the least cost effect, kind of least costly of them probably. I don't know, but from the other side, building a new technology to kind of technically suck the carbon out of the air, CO2, sounds like the probably still very, very expensive technology, right?
Yeah, that's right. But therefore, I would say that there are these other processes. For example, if you produce biofuels, that process typically emits CO2, almost pure CO2. Now, it would be, that's a biogenic CO2 from a production that displaces fossil fuels, which is great to begin with. And then, if you capture that CO2 and transport it and inject it underground, that's a very low-hanging fruit. That should be done no matter what. So, and of course, highly permanent and a lot less costly than direct air capture.
Rehearsals for the school play were really coming along.
Bigger smile, Mr. Squirrel?
Until a custodian accidentally threw away the costumes.
Oh, no.
Everyone was rattled. Miss Garrity forgot how to play. And the Queen of the Hedgehogs almost quit.
Find a new queen!
But replacement costumes were shipped with FedEx. And with added peace of mind from picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Hold music. You want to avoid it, and so do your customers. So say goodbye to hold music and hello to faster, smarter support with Salesforce. Make service more personal and agents more productive using built-in trusted AI. Then watch costs and wait times drop and satisfaction soar. Support customers in a whole new way with Service GPT. Learn how at salesforce.com/servicegpt.
If you look at the kind of the wide variety of different technologies which are emerging, or some of them which are out there already, what do you see are the most promising to have a massive impact on the planet?
Well, that is a challenging question, and one that takes me back to the origin of Puro. We asked ourselves, me and the co-founder Marianne, we asked ourselves, which is the winning horse? Which horse should we bet on? And we looked at, we had approximately 20 different carbon removal process candidates, and we eliminated most of them one by one based on the principles that we created along the way. And we ended up initially with 3. Now we've gotten rid of one of them because of the lack of permanence, and added a few more. And now we are in a situation where it's really a multi-methodology standard, and now we realize that we've arranged the horse race. So we didn't have to pick the winner. Now what we've done is harmonized the climate impact across different kinds of processes, and what we believe is that the one that provides the best bang for the buck without sacrificing environmental or social safeguards is the one that should prevail. Unfortunately, we are still in a situation in the market where buyers are looking at these different kinds of projects and different processes through their own subjective lenses. They may prefer a process that is located in their country. They may prefer a process that is somehow related to their own value chain, or they may prefer, because their CEO just happens to like, I don't know, ocean, or some other technology,
Iceland or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
It's an interesting field, and I really liked your comparison about from the picking the right horse to the becoming actually the horse race organizer, with the same logic that going to the casino, the one who always wins is the casino, right? So this kind of the same logic, that you could pick the number or the color or the card or whatever, but eventually it's about being the bank in the industry.
Yeah. Although of course we are not a bank. However, we do recognize the need for that's actually a sort of a nice segue into something that we also do. Among those 600 projects that are in our supplier funnel, there are ones that come in fully funded, with everything ready, and they just fly past through the queue and get to the front line and are getting certified in a matter of months. Then there are ones that have a great idea. They have great access to feedstock. They may have some other sort of unique technology, but no funding. So we do actively sort of do some sort of matchmaking with people who we know have competence or money that they want to invest in this area.
Absolutely, that's cool. What do you think about the kind of this technological belief we have in some countries and in some, I don't know, parties or the companies that we don't really need to worry too much about emissions because the technology will solve it all eventually?
Well, back in the 90s, one of the books that I read in the university was called Innumeracy. And that was a nice sort of introduction to, how people's minds work with, large and small numbers. It's damn difficult for us to understand what it means to, multiply a figure with 1,000 or, a million or a billion. So being able to transport 1 kiloton of negative emissions can happen fairly easily. But if you try to do the same for a megaton, you need a lot of activity. So the idea that it doesn't make a difference whether you need to remove 5 gigatons a year or 50 gigatons a year is completely absurd. We are never going to get to net zero, or at least not during this century, unless we do radical emission reduction as well. So that is the first and foremost priority. And all the buyers who are using corks today have started and are quite advanced in their journey to reduce their emissions, because it's so darn expensive. There is no CFO in the world who would say that, okay, doesn't matter, we just pay 200 or $100 or $200 per ton that we continue to emit. No, every single one of them will say that hurts so much that we do everything we can to reduce our emissions first, and then, let's look how much we still need to neutralize after that.
Absolutely. Looking forward from the kind of Puro perspective, what are the next milestones you guys are looking forward?
Well, there are multiple, of course, that are or can be significant. The policy front is more increasingly active. As we know, EU is planning on creating basically the carbon removal certification framework, and of course we are involved in that. We know that ICBCM on the voluntary side is active with their CCP or the core carbon principles. And CFTC, for example, the American Commodities Futures Trading Commission is working on their sort of regulation and so forth. Lots happening over there. And we really wanted that to happen for a long time. Somebody with authority should define what qualifies as high quality carbon removal. And we are now on that journey. So that's really good. The only thing is that the bar should actually be higher where it is going to be in the near future. Another thing which is sort of probably potentially, hopefully, closer to today is the SBTI guidance. Which is not there. They have told their, companies that have signed up to SBTI or Science Based Targets Initiative, the requirement to reduce emissions. Exactly like I said, first and foremost priority, that should definitely happen first. However, they have also launched this concept called net zero. And built into that is that the residual emissions, whatever is remaining after the emission reductions, has to be removed or neutralized using carbon removals. Now, the challenge is that they haven't given proper guidance on when to start building that capacity for removals. As it is now, when 2049 comes and everybody starts to buy carbon removals, there's none available because we haven't built the capacity, because building even the first 100 megatons requires tremendous investment, not to mention the first gigaton or so forth. So we need to, in order to be able to invest into this, the buyers, the future buyers and the current buyers need to send a demand signal that makes these projects bankable, which means that they can raise the funding necessary for them to be able to build the first and second level facilities.
From the kind of regulatory side, which will be having significant impact on the market, but that's probably very logical at this point of the market development.
Yeah, I think we've gotten fairly far with these sort of self-initiated, self-motivated, very highly principled buyers who have shown the way. The likes of Microsoft and Shopify and Stripe. That were among the first ones to be active. Swiss Re, for example, has been there proactively also for a long time. But now it's no longer 5. It's probably 200 companies that are making slightly larger purchases, but 200 is still ridiculously small number of companies that we need to have. Much broader, groups of corporations becoming active, not just talking, but putting their money where their mouth is.
Good. I think that's a good point to wrap up, Antti. Thanks for joining us today for this discussion, and good luck with Puro, because efforts like these are needed.
Well, thank you, Tarmo. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you.
I'm Iris Ichishita, mother of 2 digital natives, CEO and co-founder of Tokens Collectibles, and co-host of the Tokens podcast.
Hi, I'm Jeff, father of 3 digital natives and one of your hosts of the Tokens podcast, where we cover a variety of topics.
Topics such as digital collectibles, blockchain, Web3, and raising children who are digitally and financially literate.
So, if you're a little crypto curious and want to dip your toe into the Web3 waters, then join us on Tokens.
Electricast.
Hey there, I'm DC. I host the rock podcast, Back to the Arena, The Interviews. It's about a 30-minute podcast where I talk one-on-one with a band who has released new music. You can find us on all the best podcast sites like Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're a rock fan like me, subscribe today to Back to the Arena, The Interviews.
Electricast. Electricast.